main line, as I said, is about 260 feet south of the house. There's also an interior line. At about noon, some of the last federal troops began to arrive in Franklin, the very end of this long, winding column. Trailing the army, forming the rear guard, was George Wagner's division. But right in front of them were 3 regiments of recruits. The 44th Missouri, the 183rd Ohio, and the 175th Ohio. They're actually the subject of my new book. Never been in combat. Some of the guys in the 183rd Ohio had just been mustered into service 2 weeks before this battle. They had, it would be like putting us in the ranks of the army and say, you figure it out. And so these troops begin arriving in town, and what Cox doesn't want is to place these men on the main line. So he puts them on this interior line. There's a company of Missouri troops that are right here between the office building and the pike. There are no troops in front of these buildings. Now, right next to the smokehouse are 4 pieces of artillery, the 20th Ohio Battery. The rest of the 44th Missouri fans out to the right of the 20th Ohio, about 600 men. They're following the curvature of the main line and the curve of the hill, so they kind of wind down past the visitor center and right about where the parking lot is. The 183rd Ohio is put on their right flank. The 175th Ohio is put across the road, real close to where the Lotes house is, if you all know where that is. And then also right across the road are the 12th and the 16th Kentucky. They're veteran regiments. They'd come up with the trailing end of the army. And here comes Wagner's division. Now, Wagner's division forms up on those hills south of town for a while. He's been holding off Forrest cavalry all day because Forrest started the pursuit from Spring Hill. They form up on the hills for a while, but as the Confederate troops from A.P. Stewart's corps start swinging around the hills, Wagner pulls back. Now, I don't know, I'm assuming a couple of you probably know a little bit about George Wagner. He's a good soldier. He had performed admirably in a number of different battles. What happened to George Wagner here at Franklin? I don't know that anyone will ever quite figure out what he was thinking. But he made a serious error. He had 3 brigades. He placed one of his brigades east of Columbia Pike, commanded by Joseph Conrad. The next brigade that came up was Emerson Updike's brigade. He told Updike to take a position on the west side of the road. And Updike told him, no. He said, I am not going to put my troops out there in the open where they don't do anybody any good except the enemy. I'm not going to do it. And so they had this running argument, really, all the way up the road. And Updike's men are following along in column. Both guys on horses just barking at each other. And Updike comes right up the road and ends up taking his men 200 yards north of the Carter House. They take a position down in the parking lot of H.G. Hill Food Store. So it's John Lane who gets the responsibility of ending up east of the road. He's the 3rd Brigade. He comes down. Wagner tells him to take that position, and they do. They're a half mile in front of the main line, about 3,000 men. Initially, just like when he was formed up on the hills, they were meant to be a strong front, a really kind of a really strong skirmish line, with orders to pull back if pressed. Well, they never pull back. They got left out there. They got hung out to dry, if you will. So the afternoon's winding down. It's a beautiful day. It's about 50, 55 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky. The sun's heading toward the southwestern horizon. And there are Union troops up and down this line who can see this unbelievable spectacle that is playing out just south of here. 20,000 Southern soldiers.